a nature nut, I'm not afraid to admit. I'm wild about the wild things and I'm proud of it. I'm just a simple case, open and shut. No doubt about it, I'm a nature nut. Today we'll go bird watching, tomorrow we'll catch toads. The next day we'll take photographs of bugs along the road. I never get the feeling that I'm in a rut. That's why I'm a nature nut. Well, I'm a nature nut, I'm not afraid to admit. I'm wild about the wild things and I'm proud of it. I'm just a simple case, open and shut. No doubt about it, I'm a nature nut.
Well, hello there, nature nuts. How are ya? It's lizard time again, and today we're going to explore the fascinating world of geckos. Geckos are, well, it's a fantastic group of lizards. It might well be my favorite group of lizards, and there are so many different types of geckos, it's difficult to say how exactly you go about recognizing a lizard as a gecko. I like to think of them as the cutest family of lizards. And not all of them are like the ones that you find in your hotel room when you take a vacation in a warm place. The little sticky-toed guys that hang around the ceiling and eat bugs around the lights. Actually, real geckos, you know, to disengage their toe pads, they bend their toes backward. So we'll just try that. Be with you in a second. Stick around, as they say. There we go. No problem. Maybe if I just concentrate. Nope. Ah, well, no problem. I'll get this figured out. Anyway, we've got lots of neat geckos to look at today, so, yeah, hang in there, as they say. Okay, there we go.
All right, you little green freeloaders. Look at this place. I want these dead leaves cleaned up. I want the poop off of the glass. And I want those bamboo things polished up so I can see my face in them. You hear me? I'll be back in 20 minutes. Hi, folks, how are you? Listen, while they're working on this, I'm going to tell you a few things. I believe in discipline when it comes to gecko husbandry. That's not what I want to tell you. I want to tell you about these geckos. These are Madagascar Day Geckos, and they're beauties, aren't they? They're really nice-looking lizards. From the island of Madagascar. That's why they call them Madagascar Day Geckos. Yeah, beautiful place, apparently. But a lot of people will tell you Madagascar right now is an island under siege. People are poor. They're having to mow down their forests, and the geckos, well, they're the innocent victims of this conflict between man and nature. It's a sad thing. But it gives gecko breeders, like myself, kind of a warm feeling. We feel like we're doing something in conservation of these lizards, giving them a little home away from home, or DAC, displaced animal camp, that's what I call it. Chance to propagate in captivity. Wait till the conflict blows over. But I'll tell you one thing, pretty soon there could be more of these babies in captivity than there are out in the wild. And these ones, well, apart from being shiftless, they're also great breeders. Look what they did the other day. You're gonna like this. Female, she crawled into her bamboo. Oh yeah. This is incubator, by the way. Nice and warm. Like a tropical rainforest right in there. She went in there. She laid a couple eggs. You see those? Oh, they're the cutest little eggs you ever saw in your life. Where are you? It's hard to see them, especially with sunglasses on. But they're nice. And they're gonna hatch out. We're gonna have some little beautiful baby Madagascar Day Geckos. Rear those things up. Get them into a breeding program. Propagate the species. Thousands of miles from her home country. That's pretty exciting, if you ask me. I'm real proud of these. Make me feel kind of like a grandpapa. I like to sing to them sometimes. Lullaby and good night. Get your butt in gear and hatch. Discipline. It's very important to geckos. Gecko without discipline, it's not a gecko you want to have in your household. That's just my own personal view. You don't have to stick to that yourself. Anyway, there you go. Ha! No, I told you about this, right? It's not a real pipe. Don't smoke. It's bad for your lizard. At ease.
There are at least 25 species of day geckos in Madagascar, and almost all of them are now being bred in captivity. I'm in the reptile room of Neil Tireman, the recording secretary of the Global Gecko Association here in Edmonton, Alberta. Like I say, Alberta is an absolute hotbed for gecko enthusiasm, isn't it?
It's definitely getting that way, especially up here in Edmonton.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, Neil, what I'd really like is a tour of your South Pacific Rhacodactylus geckos.
Sure. First one I have, it's about 5 months old. And we're looking at, it's called Rhacodactylus leachianus, or New Caledonian giant gecko. Like I said, it's just a baby right now, so it doesn't look all that giant. But
It doesn't look giant at all. It's gorgeous, though.
yeah, they're very heavy-bodied lizards. They can get average about 600 grams, but there are specimens that have been up to a kilogram.
So how much is that in pounds then?
I think it's a little over 2 pounds.
Wow.
And 20 inches long.
20 inches and 2 pounds. That's incredible.
It's an impressive reptile when it gets that size.
Well, and it's beautiful, even at this size. What is obviously very well camouflaged.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what the skin fringe around the lens is for?
It breaks up the animal's profile on a tree or something like that, especially during the day when they're more susceptible to predation.
Oh, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous little lizard.
Yeah, he's a little active more than usual right now just because of the bright lights. They're definitely a nocturnal species.
It's very gentle.
Yeah, in general, they're quite easy to handle. Adults can give nasty bites if they are so inclined. They have very powerful jaws, but in general, they're very docile gecko.
Pretty jumpy, too.
Sometimes, like I said, the lights are making them a bit nervous right now.
All right, well, let's have a look at the... what was the next one you had? The gargoyle gecko.
Gargoyle gecko, yes. Its scientific name is Rhacodactylus auriculatus.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's just tiny.
Yeah, these guys are about 2 months old. They will get about 20 centimeters long.
Also much smaller.
Yeah, much smaller. These guys are a little more of a fruit eater, and in the wild they'll also eat things like lizards. They're very big lizard eaters.
Oh, wow.
But you know they do like a lot of fruits, especially peach, mango, tangerine, apricot, things
You almost
like
said
that.
tango, didn't you?
Almost said tango.
The word
yep.
gecko and the word tango strangely go together. It looks like a little gray, hairless poodle. So why is it called a gargoyle?
They're not really noticeable too much as babies, but on the top of their head and along the sides, they got these bony lumps, and that's where they get the name gargoyle from. But they're still a very nice-looking gecko. They're a very wide range of colors you can get with them as well.
It's a gorgeous little thing. It really is. And what about the third species in your...
The third one that I have
Rhacodactylus.
is the Rhacodactylus ciliatus, or New Caledonian crested gecko. They were originally called eyelash geckos, but they were renamed crested just because of the confusion with an Australian species called eyelash gecko.
Oh, beautiful. Look at how exotic this creature is.
Yeah, they're quite beautiful. They they can range from a drab gray color to up to what's called a flame morph or tiger morph, which is a nice orange reddish color.
And this one is kind of a yellowy olive.
Yeah, their colors change depending on mood and temperature and light levels as well.
You can certainly see why it's called crested, with those beautiful scaly crests on the head. That's just too beautiful. Now, do you know what the rhacco means in rhacodactylus? If dactylus means toe, what does rhacco mean?
Actually, I'm not positive. It would be easy to look up, though.
Yeah, piece of cake. You guys do that. Look her up. Rhacodactylus, completely different from rhaccolam. Rhacco means rags and tatters, and thus Rhacodactylus means tattered fingers. Every night, Neil sits down with his geckos and gently feeds them their apricot baby food. He also makes sure they have all the right vitamins and minerals in the right amounts as well. Not too much, not too little. The geckos seem to thrive on the tender, loving care they receive. While we were visiting Neil and his geckos, I also met his family. And yes, I'm happy to report that he is a kind and loving father as well. Gecko keeping, as one might expect, is an excellent way to build character. Okay, we'll get a load of this for a wild-looking gecko. Isn't that beautiful? That is one of the leaf-tailed geckos from Madagascar, Europlatus lineatus. And Europlatus, well, Euro means tail and platus means plate-like or flattened, and sure enough, there's the tail, it's plate-like and flattened. And lineatus means striped, and if you look on the head especially, you can see that this critter is striped. Beautiful lizard. Apparently its colors become even darker at night when it's active and its eyes turn sort of orangish and so on. It comes from bamboo forests where it blends in to the bamboo very beautifully. Stand there sitting for long periods. Just hissed at me. Do you hear that? Cool. Okay, don't bite me, buddy. Sitting for long periods in the bamboo, head down, with its front legs held out forward and its back legs held out backward. They have, well, it's a fairly heavy gecko, even though it looks fairly slim. Oh, you got a black tongue. I didn't realize that. Your tongue is black. Don't jump on my face. Oh, well, go ahead, jump on my face, see if I can. Up there, get up there. Up. Yeah, no, they're really interesting geckos. And you know, they have a few interesting structural aspects as well. You can see that the legs are quite slim. At least I assume you can see that the legs are quite slim. The musculature and the bone structure around the front limb girdle, very weak. On the other hand, the nasal bones, the bones on the top of the nose, right in there in front of the eyes, they are apparently fused together. No one seems to know why that is, but my friend Neil Tireman tells me that everyone who keeps this sort of gecko, they put a nice thick layer of moss on the bottom of the tank because these geckos do have a habit of diving straight down at their food, and they'll bang their little faces if you don't have a little cushion at the bottom of the tank. So there you go. Maybe that's the explanation. They're just a little bit too enthusiastic about the straight down food capturing move that they use.
When biologists talk about limb girdles, they mean the bones and muscles that attach legs and arms to the body, nothing more.
Well, I'll be the first person to say that geckos make wonderful captive lizards, but there are very few species of geckos that you can handle, that you can take out of the tank and hold in your hand. One of them is the Leopard Gecko, and here's Bluey Louie, my beautiful leopard gecko that I've had for 10 years now, her and her mate Panther. I've had them on the show many times before, so I'm sure that many of you are familiar with beautiful Bluey Louie, and you're glad to see her again, aren't you? Yes. Most other sorts of geckos, though, they're either too delicate to be handled, they get stressed out if you take them out of the tank, or some of them are actually quite vicious, and if you handle them, they're likely to handle you back.
All right, careful. There's a really fierce gecko loose in the room. This is a tokay gecko, and these ones, they'll bite your hand right off. Come on, boy. That's a beautiful lizard, isn't it? It's just a gorgeous lizard. Come on into the net. Don't bite me. Oh, look at that, look at that. Look at those. Look at how big his mouth is. Man, that could take your thumb right up. Right, oh man, it's a really beautiful lizard, and he's got some real attitude. Look at that. Just flops into the net like that, as if, well, come here, boy. You're not as vicious as you could be. I gotta be real careful. You hear that? He backs. He backs. A lizard that backs. You know what I mean by back? It's kind of like bark. Oh, this is weird. This is really weird. Look at this beautiful lizard. Some people, they get them for their apartments and they put them out thinking they'll eat all the cockroaches. But you need a lot of cockroaches to keep one of these things healthy. So most people, they're really doing a bad thing to the lizard because it doesn't get enough to eat. And it doesn't have any water either, unless you got water all over the floor, which I don't. All right, come on, I'm gonna get you back in your cage. Here we go. Just like a pussycat. Yeah, so I say if you want a pet gecko, and you want one that's really fierce and you can never handle, never even get close to, This is the one for you. One that'll really harm your children? Yeah, get a tokay.
I get a lot of mail from people who keep pet reptiles, and a lot of people have told me that they used to have an iguana, it got too big and unruly, and they're so happy with their new leopard gecko. On the other hand, I also get letters from people who say, well, yeah, leopard geckos are all right, but they're not the perfect lizard. The perfect lizard is the bearded dragon. A couple of years ago, you couldn't have a bearded dragon here in Alberta, Canada, because it was illegal to import them. Each state and province has its own regulations in that regard, but now you can. So I got myself a bearded dragon just to see if indeed they are as good as all of my viewers tell me they are. This is Riggy. Riggy is a young bearded dragon. Look at how intelligent and bright-eyed this lizard is. Now, they get about twice as long as this and quite heavy, but what a beautiful creature. It's not a gecko. It's a member of the agamid family, originally native to Australia. And so far, I've got to say, this thing is working its way into my heart. I love it. It's got a very, it's got a neat look to it. And my family likes it. It's a good lizard. So, there you go. 2 good choices. If you want a pet lizard you can handle, the bearded dragon, the inland bearded dragon, pardon me. There are a number of species of bearded dragons. If you got your heart set on a gecko, the leopard gecko is my choice for the perfect gecko. So, there you go. And there are all sorts of other geckos that are best left to the hardcore gecko fancier, and who knows, perhaps that's you. In all types of lizards, there are gentle individuals and mean ones, although within a species, most individuals do behave alike. Okay, and I just wanted to show you one more of Neil Tireman's fantastic tropical geckos, the giant banana gecko. It's a beautiful thing. It's kind of the same size and shape as a banana. They also eat a lot of fruit, but the main thing I wanted to mention about these ones is that they're a good example of how you can enjoy a gecko without having it as a handleable pet. Neil tells me that when he got his pair of banana geckos, they went straight from the box they were in into the cage. They've never been handled. They live their life in here undisturbed by human hands, kind of like aquarium fish. You can enjoy aquarium fish without handling them. In the same sense, you can enjoy giant banana geckos without having to handle them.
When I first met her, she was a dancer at the club apropos. And when I told her she was the answer, she said,
Hit the road, Joe.
and when I asked her, would she tell me her name, she took off her skin, started barking, and then said,
It's Coco. Joe.
we did the Gecko Tango. I just couldn't say no. But when I tried to let go, I couldn't, you know. She did a small pirouette, puffed on a candy cigarette. But it would get better yet when we danced the Gecko Tango. I wondered if we would walk on the beach in the warm summer sun, by the sea just for fun.
Not a chance I would come.
Maybe we'd dine and dance at some of my favorite old haunts. Gentil Jean's. And she said,
No.
we'll do the Gecko Tango. I just couldn't say no. But when I tried to let go, I couldn't. And I finally sat down. She was nowhere around.
have a look at that. Now that's one of the coolest membership cards I've ever had. It's the International Gecko Society with a gecko foot logo signed by the secretary, and on the back there's a map of the distribution of the gecko subfamilies of the world in case you're walking along one day and you forget where they live. Unfortunately, this society is no longer. I enjoyed being a member though, because it kept me up to date on the most recent thinking about how to look after all these wonderful geckos that were showing up in the pet stores for the first time. Really hard information to get any other way. The good thing is, there's a new society just starting up, the Global Gecko Association, and it promises to be even better than the old IGS was. You can get all sorts of interesting gecko information at their website, www.geckota.com. And I encourage you to join. I'm going to join myself. It's going to be a good thing. And I've talked to them. They promise that they will have cool membership cards as well. So, what more could you ask? It's going to be great.
Well, now let's discuss geckos and the manner with which they locomote through the air. Yes, I did say the air. Ha ha! And did you know there is a sort of gecko called the flying gecko? Tychozoon is the scientific name. A lovely bark-colored gecko with skin flanges along the sides of its body, between the toes, and along the tail. Powered flight, as you know, has been achieved by birds and bats and insects with flapping wing beats. Geckos cannot do that. Neither can they replicate the flight mechanism of an aeroplane with a propeller, a jet engine, or a rocket. Oh my. No, the question remains, does the flying gecko glide after the fashion of a flying squirrel or a glider? Or do they parachute, like a parachute guy? Well, fortunately for us, in my youth, I once performed the critical experiment. The flying gecko, when launched from the tip of my outstretched hand, would sail down toward the floor where I had a padded landing surface and an upward-facing video camera, and, amazingly enough, the flying gecko does not glide. The flying gecko merely parachutes. Yes, I was so proud. A scientific triumph. The question answered. Nature had been investigated, and I had been redeemed. And yet, when I went to announce my findings to the world, I discovered that the same experiment had been performed in a much more elegant fashion only a few short months before in nearby Calgary, Alberta, Canada, where a gecko researcher had beat me to it. Oh, but we were still proud because Alberta, the gecko research capital of the world, had triumphed once more. Well, I guess that's about all the time we've got now for geckos. I don't know, I'm cranked on this subject. I'm much more attached to it now than I used to be, and I was pretty attached back then. Managed to cling to my dignity and hang in there as well. So, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoy the world of geckos. I think it's really weird and wonderful that we were able to explore the world of geckos so thoroughly here in Alberta, Canada. But hey, that's why I'm a nature nut. I hope you are too. See you again soon. Okay, if you figure out how to do this, you give me a call and let me know, okay? Yeah, no problem.
Same time each and every week, uncensored and uncut. No doubt about it, I'm a nature nut.